Let's talk about let us talk about some odd instances that have happened to us at the movies,
Yeah.
okay?
With the amount of time Steve and I go to the movies, we gotta have some odd incidents.
We talked about this briefly last week. I forgot how we kind of got into it. I forgot kind of what we were talking about.
What movie were we reviewing?
You know, we were going into like we were just going into details about like a particular movie, and then we just started stumbling upon some weirder traits. And I didn't want to go too heavy.
Paddington 2,
Paddington
maybe?
2, I think. I think that I was just gonna say. I think that's what it was. I didn't want to go too heavy into it because I said, you know what? Let's table this. I think this is a topic that could sustain a 15-minute conversation or stuff. Let us talk about some of the weirder instances that have happened to us at the movies. I can come with quite a few. Been going to the movies, every weekend for the last several years,
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm sure, it's like somebody who goes to sporting events or something like on a regular basis, or somebody that goes like somewhere like a big public gatherings.
Yeah.
Obviously you're going to see a lot of things if you go on a regular basis. Now the funniest thing though is like the theater, the movie theater. Okay, very democratic place. Buy a ticket, get you any seat in the house generally. It's not like a play or a conventional theater. Where you're paying, you pay for the prestige of seating. So it obviously caters to more of the general public than the specialized public. So there's some stuff that kind of goes on there, but at the same time, the people that don't go to the movies as much as we do might think that nothing ever exciting happens at the movies.
Yeah.
So I think that's a way to kind of look at it. You said something occurred over the weekend with you that I'm very interested in hearing about.
So when I went to go see 12 Strong, I had two people behind me just talking the entire time. And so there were 6 people in the theater. There was me, another person that was sitting by themselves, 2 people behind me, and then 2 people behind them. And they were talking in the first 5 minutes of this movie. And they were talking because 12 Strong starts out with footage from 9/11 basically.
Yes.
And they were talking about I can just hear the conversation behind me. They were like, "Oh my God, do you remember when that happened? Yeah, I remember when that happened. That was so crazy." And they just kept going on and on. We're 15 minutes in the movie and they're still talking. And all of a sudden I just hear from way back in the theater, just shut up. And then all of a sudden they just the guy's just like, "Hey man, we're talking about something that seriously happened here." And then I'm like, "Are you serious? Is this actually happening right now?" And then finally someone came into the theater because I went to go see it at Hollywood Palms.
Okay.
So someone came in to bring, because I ordered food. I was like, I'm getting hungry. The person brought my food and they escorted the 2 people in the back of the theater, and not the 2 people in the back of the theater, the 2 people behind me out of the theater, and
Wow.
they didn't show up for the rest of the time.
Good.
I don't know if they got a refund or whatever, but
Good.
I was glad they got kicked out because they would not stop talking.
Oh my God.
It's not like I wasn't missing anything. I was just watching on screen. I'm like, yeah, I'm not missing anything. It is annoying no matter what.
People are unbelievably ignorant.
Yeah.
It is astonishing. Never underestimate the desperation and ignorance of the common person.
Yeah.
Male or female, I don't care. It's true.
But going into some of the crazy stories, I'm gonna start off with one, the earliest one I can remember.
And we'll go back and forth. We'll do one
the
each.
movie Valkyrie with Tom Cruise.
A while ago.
I went to go see this on Christmas Day with me, my dad, and my uncle. We had to get out of the house because the relatives were getting annoying and arguing about stuff. So we chose to go see Valkyrie. And I remember seeing in the theater, and they're at the scene where, if you don't know, this movie is about them trying to assassinate Hitler. They're at the scene where they're trying to do it. They basically put a bomb in a briefcase and they're passing it underneath the desk and everything, trying to lead it towards more where Hitler's sitting. And all of a sudden, this girl stands up and yells at her boyfriend and says, "Jeremy, if you want to be with her, that's fine. Just tell me the truth." And he's just like, "Babe, be quiet. We're in a movie theater." She's like, "I don't care. They know what's going to happen. Hitler's going to live. God, what are these people, stupid or something?" And she stormed out of the theater. And I just remember my dad was just cracking up. And I'm like, wow, this is the best thing that's happened in this movie so far. Was just that comment.
Funny. How do you go back to the movie?
I just witnessed a breakup happen in a movie theater.
How do you go back to that? That is hilarious. I would say my most outrageous moment that ever happened at theater. Did you see that movie Hitchcock? It was the Hitchcock biopic.
I almost said with Alfred Hitchcock.
With Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins,
and
yeah.
Helen Mirren. Did you see that?
I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it at home.
I saw it in theaters. I saw it with my mother, and I really liked it. Now, what's funny is you remember that. You kind of remember that movie. You remember it ends very peacefully.
Yeah.
It ends. It's got a very nice flute accompaniment to the credits. The credits are red velvet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't repeat what was said just because even during the safe harbor hours, but I will say that I with my mother, because it was the time my mother and I would still go because I couldn't drive. You know what I mean? So we're sitting there and we're watching the credits and whatnot. Oh my God, this all out, and the lights are still off. This all out fight breaks out in like the top level, and it's two men. One like stepped over one. It was some good 4-letter word exchanges, and then you just hear fisticuffs. I mean,
oh my God,
it is like pummeling. I mean, it is like definitely like fighting.
Do you know what it was about?
Just, I guess the guy walked over the other guy, or like trying to leave or something. Just stupid male aggression. And
I would not expect. When I bring up the movie now, I'll bring up you expect it to happen for something like that, but I would not expect it to happen at something like Hitchcock.
It's like
that's like a film you and I go see, like, you know, the film buffs.
And it's like I said, this really nice, peaceful soundtrack, and then these two morons fight, and then but you know what really sucked was by the time the lights came on, the fight had dissipated and security had came, so you couldn't even see it. I didn't even get a good look at the two guys, honestly. Yeah. So it was funny though, just to see that, and like, because it was a decent crowd theater. It was about 25 people for a morning show, so that's not bad for Hitchcock. I mean, I saw it and it was like, is at the end, you didn't expect anything like that. Now, conversely, I'll just add to some similar event. Was I saw that movie? Do you remember that movie, Two Guns? That movie, it was
with Mark Wahlberg and Denzel Washington.
Yes, and co-starring Two Guns. It was. I hated this thing.
Oh, dude, I hated that movie too.
I didn't like.
I went to go see that with my family. They loved it. They were talking on the car ride home how much they loved it. I had to sit there quietly mumbling to myself like, that movie was garbage.
My father liked it a little bit more than I did. I remember, but it was one of the very, very rare times my father and I went to the movies. Case in point, the last time my father and I went to see a movie together was The Penguins of Madagascar in 2014. That was the last time we saw a movie together. But anyway, so we saw Two Guns, okay? So we're in the theater, and about 20 minutes, there's like these three guys in the back row, and then there's like this older guy who's sitting a row or two in front of them, like on the opposite side of the theater from me. I always sit left aisle. So they're like on the opposite side of the auditorium. So about 15, 20 minutes into the movie, this old guy, just storms up, walks down to like the base of, like right to the base of the stairs, and turns around and says, and yells, "I'll be waiting out front so you can show me how effing tough you are." That's verbatim. And he walked out. About 2 minutes, 3 minutes later, security came and took the three guys out. It was weird, and it was very frightening to kind of like see that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like just the connotation of that. Because keep in mind too, and I'm not one to like draw comparisons to this, but this was also a year after the Aurora shooting.
I was gonna say anything
anything
post that shooting. Like any weird theater things. I've always been kind of more on edge when something like that happens. It's like, okay, man, people are crazy today.
And like, a movie theater is a perfect setting for something like that to happen. I mean, like I remember when the Aurora shooting happened in 2012. I remember thinking to myself, as bad as this is to think, I'm like, you know, honestly, I'm surprised this hasn't happened before. Because if you think about the literal captivity of a movie theater, there's nowhere to go.
There really isn't.
If you're
the only way to go is towards the front where it's happening.
The front, and I mean, and if you sit high and you like, you know, if something really goes down and you try to like leap the balcony, I mean, you run the risk of breaking a leg.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very scary situation. Like, because you can't exit unless you have a theater that like has, you know, exits.
Some AMC theaters have like back there, but you have to see the big blockbuster. That's the thing.
That's exactly right. You know, so I remember thinking of that. So that was another. Those are the two most unbelievable examples of like something odd happening in a movie theater.
I got one. So I went to go see Amazing Spider-Man with my stepbrother and his friends, and if you remember in this movie, Rhys Ifans, I can't pronounce his name, but he plays the Lizard or Dr. Kirk Connors. And in this movie, there's also basically the guy who kills Uncle Ben. He has a star tattoo on his arm.
Yeah, I remember.
And so this family comes walking in like 10 minutes. No, not 10 minutes. Like literally 10 seconds before the movie starts. And the brother and the sister are both like 6, 5 years old, little kids. And the mom, you could tell she just didn't care because she even fell asleep halfway through the movie. She just didn't care. The kid had to explain to his sister, because she was little, what was happening in the movie.
Oh, God.
So during The Amazing Spider-Man, he's giving his plot synopsis that's making no sense. Like, at the beginning of the movie, he tells his sister out loud, watch out for the guy with the star on his arm. And I'm like, wait, what does that mean? And then the guy with the star on his arm kills Uncle Ben. I'm like, dude, spoiler.
Oh, he's like narrating for the blind.
So basically, he goes through the whole movie just narrating. The thing that killed me at the end, I busted out laughing, was so when Dr. Kirk Connors turns back to human form after becoming the lizard, the kid shouts, that's the guy with the star on his arm. And I busted out laughing. I'm like, no, it's not. Oh my God. Like, I just remember he was just narrating the whole time and I was annoyed of it, but that last part killed me.
That's
I was
funny.
dying in theater.
The worst theater experience I ever had to date, and it's always because of kids. Usually it's because of kids, which is why I try to see... I ordinarily try to catch Friday. If there's a kids movie coming out, I try to go Friday morning.
Friday morning's the best time, yep.
Because they're in school generally. So I try that. I remember I tried that for Wonder over Thanksgiving break, and of course, I underestimated the Thanksgiving holiday. But I went to go see Wonder like Thanksgiving week, and of course, it was like day camp day.
Oh,
and
God.
then you go to school and you
Steve's
see
daycare.
When you ever go to a school, whenever you go to a movie theater and you see a school bus and you're seeing a kid movie, like you're like, oh man,
that's the worst feeling.
The worst theater experience I ever had though was seeing the Muppets. I think I mentioned that last week. I mentioned
the second one,
the first one, not
Okay.
Muppets Most Wanted, which I liked. The first Muppets movie, and it was a good movie, but that was the worst theater experience because there was these group of kids in front of me, like these 3 kids and like 2 mothers and like 2 mothers and like 3 kids, and these kids were like rambunctious too. Like they were like getting up and walking and talking really loudly, and it was hell. And I would have moved, but the problem was it was such a packed theater. You really couldn't go anywhere. You were always near one of these idiots. You know what I mean? No matter where you would go. So like I remember, the best part was like maybe like 20 minutes into the movie, this kid took like a sip. This young boy took a sip of, I guess, the girl's Coke or something. I wasn't really paying too much attention until the climax of this whole scenario. But he took a sip of the girl's Coke, and a girl actually puts down her popcorn, gets up, and like beams him on the forehead with the palm of her hand. And it was funny as hell. It was really something. But like that was the most rewarding part. But these kids were nonstop, man. They were like the Energizer Bunny, And then there was the other part, adding the kid thing, just to bang it with this. I was like deathly ill Christmas of 2012. I was like sick for about 2.5 weeks, and it was I had the flu, and it was miserable. It was one of those, I don't know if you've ever been like sick like this, but it was one of those times when you're sick and you're so sick that like you almost, when you wake up in the morning, you feel like hell, you got a high temperature.
Yeah.
You go to bed, you feel like you might be getting a little bit better. You at least feel better than you did when you woke up. You wake up in the morning, you got a fever again. Like that was the cycle of this sickness. It was awful. It was one of the worst sicknesses I ever experienced. And the problem was, the one thing that really frustrated me was I honestly didn't even have the energy to write. And you know me, how frequently I write.
You write it right after you see the movie.
I didn't have the energy to write. I didn't go to the theater really at all that week. But I had to see Django Unchained. And I went, and I felt like hell. I did enjoy Django quite a bit, but I was physically weak. But here was the thing.
I hate going to movies sick because I feel bad for anybody when I'm like coughing up a storm. I'm like, I'm ruining this for somebody.
I know. Like I have I saw Atlas Shrugged Part 2 sick, but I remember it was also a plus though. It wasn't like because I had the flu. It wasn't like a cold. I was so dead that I could barely move, let alone cough. So I remember sitting there and I was like clammy and I didn't feel good at all. And it was packed because it was like opening weekend for a Quentin Tarantino movie. There was a guy who brought an infant, like a couple month old infant. Now here was the best part: was the infant kept for the first 30 minutes of the movie, if I remember correctly, kept like wailing, during it, kept like momentary bursts of like wailing. So the guy, the first time, like 15 minutes in, the guy got up, walked out, came back 5 minutes later with the kid. The second time, the kid started to cry, like 30 minutes in. So then the guy gets up and started walking down, and there's one guy in the, the vast blackness of the audience, the one of just like darkness. The one guy in the random audience just says aloud, "Come on, man, who brings a baby to Django?" and vocalized all our thoughts, and then the guy never came back. The guy never came back. I just remember that. On top of being deathly ill, there was a screaming infant.
What's with that, man? Someone brought an infant to War of the Planet of the Apes. I understand it's PG-13, but it's like, that's not a kid's movie, man.
And the thing is, too, is like, if you bring an infant to any movie, first off, I don't care if you bring him to Freddy versus Jason. They're probably not going to register anything or remember anything. They're not going to have any cog.
I had
they
an
might
infant come
freak
see
out at the
Don't
noises.
Breathe. They stayed quiet the whole time. Probably because that movie was quiet the whole time. And it's just like, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, why would you bring an infant to this?
He was quiet during the whole time. Maybe he took the title literally. you know? But the thing is, first off, I don't even know. And again, I don't have kids, bless. But I don't know if you bring a kid like an infant where you could sit on your lap. It's not going to sit in the chair. It's going to sit in your lap. I wonder if they even charge you a ticket for that. I don't think they should, because it's not like the kid's taking up a seat. I don't. The kid's not taking up a seat.
My friend works at Marcus Theaters. Told me we don't charge for infants, so I don't. It might just be for Marcus, but I'll just say I think for all theaters, I don't think they charge it.
People laugh at me when I say this, but honestly, if I have children, I am not taking, unless I have like a fairly mature kid. I would not take a kid to a movie before like 5 or 6.
I'm gonna try and raise my kid the way my parents showed me movies. That way, like I'm more mature going
at home.
in. Yeah,
that's the best.
I'm showing them Terminator 2 right away, just so
they
they grasp like this is an action movie. This is what it's gonna be like, Don't try to remain calm.
Some of the kid movies nowadays, I would show my son or daughter Friday the 13th before some of these kid movies nowadays.